What's up, everybody? I'm John Hoover. Welcome to my YouTube channel. It's day 22 of the pandemic lockdown. Day 22 without sports, and there's nothing going on, huh? Really? You think that? If you think that, then you obviously haven't been over to my website, allsooners.com, where we have been plenty busy. If you follow OU sports, I'm telling you, that's where everything is happening. Before we dive into that, if you want more videos like this, please consider subscribing to this channel or hit that notifications bell so you'll be the first to know when I post a new video. Also, please click the like button, leave me a comment down below, and let's chat. You know, for a small YouTuber like me, I'm telling you guys, it really helps. Social media, find me on Twitter, at John E. Hoover, on Facebook, John E. Hoover Media. Okay, you ready? First up, Oklahoma's roster just got a little bigger. Yeah, Chris Murray, he's an offensive lineman from UCLA, a 2-year starter for Chip Kelly and the Bruins. He announced on Twitter today that he has transferred or will transfer to Oklahoma. Murray has started in every game in his career in Westwood, starting with his first 3 games at center for Chip Kelly. That's apparently the first time that has happened, a freshman starting at center in the season opener since 1982. How about that? Murray, whose full name is Cristofani Murray, 6'2", 298 pounds. He switched to guard in the 4th game of his freshman year, and that's where he's been ever since. He's going to have 2 years of eligibility remaining, but he's not a grad transfer. So what that means is he's going to redshirt next year unless somehow he obtains kind of a, I don't know, some kind of hardship waiver that's going to allow him to play right away. We'll see about that. Now think about it. If he's good enough to play center in 2021 when he's eligible, then he would be the ideal replacement for Creed Humphrey as Creed goes off to the NFL after this season. But it looks like the idea is to play him at guard. And raise your hand if you didn't think Lincoln Riley saw this coming. Remember now, back like, I don't know, 100 years ago, like the day before spring practice started, back on March 9th, when Lincoln gave a press conference to kind of kick off spring, well, he got a couple of questions about the offensive line. And I want to play those for you now, his responses back on March 9th.
And then I would say just the offensive line as a whole, we're looking at a lot of different combinations right now. I'll put it that way. You know, where guys have played in the past may not necessarily be where they'll be in the future. There's a group that, we feel like needs to play a lot better for us. I mean, very simply, we all got to do a better job. Now, granted, the way our group played last year, 99% of the teams in the country would have been pretty happy with it. But our expectations around here on the offensive line are a little bit different than most. I mean, and I wouldn't say, disappointed. I would just say, we just have a high standard here, and you don't still produce like we did offensively by being bad on the offensive line. We certainly weren't bad by any stretch, but we need to be better, and we expect to be better.
That's right. Lincoln said not only is nobody's job safe, I mean, you got to presume that Creed Humphrey's the exception there, but he also said that there's going to be guys playing different positions. He's going to shuffle it around. So, yeah, especially if guys like Cristofani Murray come in and start taking everybody's job. Am I right or am I right? OU also picked up what I'm calling a huge verbal commitment this week as Jordan Mukes, a really fast-rising 3-star defensive back from Choctaw, Oklahoma, committed to OU. I talked with Jordan the next day, and he clarified a few things for me, including, no, last year was not his first year to play organized football. He said he started playing back when he was 4 years old. Then he broke his arm when he was 12, and he took a couple of years off. Well, he said last year was his first year to play cornerback, not football. Anyway, I thought Jordan was really forthcoming in our conversation. We talked for about 15 minutes. So I wanted to play some of that for you here. Here's what he told me about how he committed to OU.
Because I always, I liked OU and stuff like that. They was like the first school to reach out to me. And then, of course, North Texas was my first offer, but OU was the first school to really reach out to me and stuff because my coach knew some people used to go up there and stuff that work there and that play there. So after they offered me, everything pretty came quick. I had more coaches starting to see, try to see who I was, and stuff like that. So, yeah, it most definitely was like a fast process, but like I just kind of talked to my coaches and my family about everything, and I just decided to make up my mind and just stop waiting on it.
I also talked with Jordan's high school coach at Choctaw, Jake Corbin. Jake told me that he's been very, very impressed with how Oklahoma has recruited Jordan. Here's what he said.
OU did a phenomenal job, in my opinion, of they've been on him since day one. You know, they were on him before he even had an offer. And I actually, you know, commend them for, like I said earlier, trusting their own evaluation and trusting their own eyes of being able to see an athlete. You know, the business is so much monkey see, monkey do with, you know, someone won't offer until someone else offers and all those kind of things. And, you know, I've always said, you know, if I was ever in that position, you have to know what you're looking for. And when you see it, you know, go ahead and hit it, you know, and a lot of guys don't do that. But I commend OU for trusting their eyes and, you know, believing what they see.
And, of course, we talked with Lincoln Riley this week himself, the man, 35 minutes on a conference call on Tuesday. And I'm telling you, it was great. There were a bunch of people on the call, including all the locals, as you would expect, but Sporting News was there, CBS Sports was there, and, of course, Sports Illustrated was there, SI Sooners. I asked Lincoln two questions. One, what does recruiting in this world look like? You know, without getting to get with the recruits on campus or visit them either at their high schools or in their homes. I mean, every decision that Lincoln Riley makes is based on, can it help him in recruiting? Every single one. So, without being able to recruit, how's he doing this? Wonder if you could lay out for us maybe a compare and contrast of what recruiting looks like now compared to what it usually looks like when you guys are going out and you got kids coming in and you're making phone calls. Now everything's either FaceTime or phone calls.
Yeah, no, it's definitely different. I mean, we're not doing anything we don't normally do, but just the amount of time that you have to invest in that right now is certainly different. The biggest difference is just not having these guys on campus right now, you know, and that's the part you miss the most. I mean, especially, you know, for us, I mean, we had, you know, a lot of great visitors through the year that have come out and spent time with us in spring practice, and then obviously, you know, the spring game has become a big deal for us from a recruiting standpoint. And we had probably as many prospects as we've ever had, if not more, probably more, lined up to be here this spring, whether it was unofficially for practice or officially for the spring game. So, yeah, you hate you miss that part, especially for the guys that have not been here yet. That part definitely feels different, but it has been fun to advantage the time and being able to connect with a lot of these guys and their families. And, you know, obviously a lot of these guys are on a pretty open schedule too. So it's just, yeah, I mean, your whole day's in front of a computer, you know, whether it's our staff meetings, whether it's meetings with the players, whether it's film study, whether it's recruiting. It's every waking hour, I think, is in front of the screen. So that's just the new normal.
And I asked him, with the cancellation of spring practice altogether, was there any discussion, assuming we can get a handle on this coronavirus outbreak, about bringing the players back for kind of an either late spring practice or early summer practice, early training camp, to either make up for the lost time or just get players back into practice shape? You can't just throw them out there. Here's what he said. There's so much unknowns that are people telling you, for instance, that you might be, because of you lost spring football, no spring football practice, maybe if July gets back to normal, you might have a July workout period, kind of like a delayed spring football?
Yeah, there's been a lot of things, you know, tossed around. Obviously, it's all going to be dependent on how this continues to progress. You know, I think, and I know they're looking at some different options there, especially for teams that did not complete spring ball. I mean, that's where, you know, it's a little different right now. Is everybody's done, you know, different degrees of spring ball. Those that started earlier obviously got more practices in. Those like us that start later and not get very many in. And so if they go to that, there's going to have to be some type of way to make that whole, you know, whereas, you know, whether maybe you have, you know, however many days and you subtract the amount of spring practices that you got in, so that it makes that part of it equal. So, which I think all that's being discussed. And yeah, I mean, my hope is honestly, if we're doing anything to be preparing for the season, whether it's off-season workouts, whether it's, practices, or they just give us extended meeting time and walkthrough time. I mean, I think we would take any of those scenarios right now.
Now, keep in mind, this teleconference happened on Tuesday, a day before the NCAA came out on Wednesday and said the emergency recruiting dead period has been extended, now from April 15th to now May 31st. So what does this mean for how coaches conduct their business in recruiting? Well, this is the big evaluation period for what would be the 2022 class. Not so much 2021, because the bulk of those prospects were identified last year, but this is the time that coaches are actually looking 2 years ahead. They're looking at guys who are just now going into their junior year. Think about that for just a second. The way coaches have been doing business for really a couple of decades now, well, that's changed for now. And what that means is, without getting to spend so much time on that 2022 class, they're going to have to adjust their recruiting calendars, and they might, just might, have to spend a little more time evaluating the 2021 class, which means a byproduct of all this is that there's a small chance, that there could be fewer misses in recruiting in both the 2021 and the 2022 class. You'd think, right? I mean, you're not able to meet and evaluate a bunch of high school sophomores, so what are you going to do with your time? You better spend some time with the juniors, or you should be. So, yeah, it's different, but it ain't like there ain't no recruiting going on. Just ask Jordan Mukes, right? This week I had a really cool story at SI Sooners, allsooners.com, about what Lincoln Riley wants from his quarterbacks during the time. This came from the teleconference. Lincoln told us that 80 to 85% of his guys right now are home, literally in their hometown, not in Norman. So basically nobody's doing anything together. They're working out, but nothing together. Everything is virtual. The team meetings are virtual. The staff meetings are virtual. The individual player meetings, the position meetings, those are all virtual. And it was kind of funny this week. The Big 12 came out, I think Sunday, and said players can have 2 hours per week of virtual interaction with their coaches. No workouts now, nothing physical. Players are basically on their own for that stuff. They can get phone calls and emails and instructions for how the strength coach and the conditioning staff wants them to work out. But they can't do anything virtual unless it's like classroom work, meetings, going over film, whiteboard study with the coaches. So just sitting in a chair basically. But then Lincoln came out on Tuesday and he said he hopes the NCAA or the Big 12 or somebody relaxes that rule so they can have more time with their guys. He said they're getting a bunch of stuff done. But of course, Lincoln Riley wanted more. And he should. He should want more. The players are doing right now next to nothing. Why should they be limited to just 2 hours a week with their coaches through a virtual screen? Anyway, the Big 12 came out and said, okay, today you can have them for 4 hours a week. It's pretty funny, but it just makes sense. Anyway, back to the quarterbacks. Lincoln said Tanner Mordecai and Spencer Rattler are in a good place right now because they've been around for a while. But he did explain how this situation is, yes, very far from ideal.
Have some similarity to summer period, where we've got very limited access to them, limited to a couple hours a week as of yesterday, and so it certainly helps that they've been in the system, that they have a good understanding of what we're doing, and they've got a good understanding of what they need to go work on, and so some of it's tougher because for quarterbacks you'd like to have a bunch of receivers and a bunch of group workouts, and not all those things are possible right now, and we'll get that. But also, there's a chance to continue to study film, continue to work on themselves physically, continue to work on the fundamental parts of this game.
Dennis Dodd asked he asked him point blank, what does he think football-wise? When can you get back to starting? And when's it going to be normal? And what might that schedule look like? Lincoln said he's looking at June 1st as a date that they're going to know a lot more.
Yeah, so much left to be seen. I mean, I think by June the 1st we'll have an idea of what that looks like. It doesn't look like a whole lot's going to happen, certainly before then. And and then I think it's going to be a step-by-step process. I mean, first thing is going to be getting the players back on campus. Assessing where they're at from a physical conditioning standpoint, and then I think you map it out from there. But you can't start the conversation until they're back on campus. I mean, that I think once that's done, in my opinion, I think you could be ready to play 15 to 20 practices, and then they're going to need, again, depending on when that happens, how much leeway we continue to get from the NCAA. You got to assess where they're at physically, then you're going to have to build in time to get to the point physically to be able to practice, and then you got to build in enough practice time to be ready to play. And we'd all like to have more, but I think to be able to go out and play, I don't think it takes 1 million practices. I don't. I think the bigger issue is just getting these guys in shape and ready to handle those rigors. So, and then obviously there's a lot of other concerns. When you come back, is there a limited number of people? Not only does that affect obviously potential people in the stands, but just how many people can you have on the sideline? How many people can you have in a locker room at a workout? I mean, there's very potentially some guidelines that we're going to have to work around. So I think we all got to be open-minded and just in a way kind of see how this thing plays out. But I do think by June the 1st, and if our players are on or off campus, will be pretty telling.
A bunch of other stuff at SI Sooners this week. I counted it up on Wednesday, and just in the past 7 days, guys, we've had 25 OU football stories. 25! So, we're going to write about every commit as it happens, of course, but every time a recruit announces that he's been offered, we post. And this has been handing out, listen, OU's been handing out a lot of offers these last couple of weeks in the 2021 class, 2022 class, and 2023 class. Guys, they just offered 5 players this afternoon. Every one of them is posted at SI Sooners, allsooners.com. I wrote about Jayden Greathouse, who's currently a high school freshman in Austin, Texas. Kid is 6'3", 200 pounds, and OU offered him recently. A lot of people are assuming that Jayden's going to go to Texas because he lives in Austin and his coach is Todd Dodge, who quarterbacked the Longhorns way back in the day. But listen, I'm not so sure. Jayden told me he basically daydreams about being the next D.D. Westbrook, the next Marquise Brown, about being the next C.D. Lamb. So, yeah, recruiting is really not going anywhere. And don't forget, SI has exclusive access to the #1 quarterback in the country, Caleb Williams, out of Washington, D.C. Every Monday, he writes a journal for us. And while last week he narrowed his choices to a Final Five, and of course, OU made the cut, this week he described how he's going to start recruiting other elite prospects to that Final Five. And yes, a lot of those guys are considering Oklahoma. Then if you missed any of it this week or last week, well, guys, you can still catch up. Our daily series looking back on this day in OU Hoops history. It's been so much fun to recap all those old games from all the way back in 1983 to 2016. But we dropped 2 recaps today, April 2nd. One from 88, one from 2016, and we're going to finish this thing on Saturday, April 4th. That's the day the Final Four was supposed to start. So, sorry, instead of getting to watch the real Final Four, you can read about OU's trips to the Final Four. You need to check it out. It's fun stuff. And last, I want to pitch a brand new daily feature. We are starting this Saturday, our countdown of the top 20 NFL Sooners of the last 20 years. Man, what a fun project. Okay, so the guidelines are this. They have to have played at OU in the last 20 years. So guys like Kelly Gregg and Steven Alexander, they don't count. Great as they were, we're basically talking about the start of the Bob Stoops era. So from 1999 or all the way to the 2000 draft, all the way up to last year. Now, the voters are me and my deputy editor, Parker Thune, of course. But we have enlisted some help. My nephew, Air Force Tech Sergeant, and 5-year member of the Pride of Oklahoma, Anthony Jumper, has helped us out. I know, nepotism, right? Too bad. Got to live with it. But I'm telling you guys, this kid has got a mind like a steel trap for the Stoops era and the Riley era. Also, Parker got us Caroline Grace to help us out. She's a student at OU who's going to help us out with some coverage this year. She knows her stuff, hopefully beyond next year. So, and then I landed the really big fish, of course, Stephen Smith, a.k.a. Blinken Riley. Everybody's favorite OU stats savant. He was my guest a lot on the podcast I did last fall, and he's so cool. Check him out on Twitter at Blinken Riley. We each rank the players 1 through 20. It's kind of like the AP poll. You get 20 points for a first place vote, 19 points for a second place vote, 18 for third, all the way down to 1 point for a 20th place vote. So there's some seriously big time surprises on our list, as well as the usual suspects. Again, that feature starts Saturday at SI Sooners, allsooners.com. And you're going to want to check it out as Parker and I will discuss literally every day, leading you right up to the NFL draft on Thursday, April 23rd. Who knows? Maybe CeeDee Lamb or Kenneth Murray, Neville Gallimore, or heck, maybe even Jalen Hurts can find their way onto the future lists. We shall see. That's it for today. Remember, if you like this video, please hit the like button, leave a comment down below, or share it in your social media channels. Be sure and tag me, and I'll tag you back. Follow me on Twitter at John E. Hoover or on Facebook at John E. Hoover Media. Remember, SI Sooners is free. Free. We do have a community section. It's just like a message board. It's a lot of fun. All you got to do is click follow or click on the notifications bell icon at the top. And hey, sound off. It's that easy. AllSooners.com, SISooners.com. Thanks for watching. See you guys.